Saiji has indicated the significance, the importance of this festival, this celebration. It is, after all, one that is very, very important to the lives of everyone because of the spring season as celebrated in India. That season is considered the birth of Saraswati Mata. And who is Saraswati Mata? She is the embodiment of knowledge, of learning, of memory, the retention of what was learned. She is also the one responsible for arts and sciences and skill, alphabets, music. She is Kriya Shakti, that creative energy that is necessary for entrepreneurs, for artists, for writers, for any field of human endeavor. That is Saraswati Mata. That energy is Saraswati Mata. We honor, we respect, and we inculcate those values. The value of knowledge, and just not knowledge, but discernment. Saraswati Mata has two vahans or vehicles. One is the peacock and one is the swan. The peacock represents pride and that which is illusory, and the swan represents the ability to separate milk from water, the truth from the untruth, that which is real from that which is unreal. Saraswati Mata is the only one who could help us with this. In Indian culture, books are revered, musical instruments are revered, and for that reason, books are not placed on the floor willy-nilly, they are not touched with the feet, nor are musical instruments, because to do so would mean that we have disrespected Saraswati Mata. The value of speech, the value of sound is tremendously important. If a sound is incorrectly produced, it sets up a very bad vibration in the physical world. Sound is a type of energy, and when a note is pure, it produces a pretty form. This is why we must be very guarded in our speech and not speak into being things that are ugly, things that we do not want. We must always try to speak about good things, about things that will help society to progress. And the value of words, even the value of thoughts in people's minds is also important for the same reason, because we create the reality we think about. So with the blessings of Saraswati Mata, Om Indraya Swaha, Om Somaya Swaha, Om Agnaye Swaha, Vishnudevtabhyo Namah Swaha, Om Kuldevtabhyo Namah Swaha, Om Ramdevtabhyo Namah Swaha, Om Sthandevtabhyo Namah Swaha, Om Vasudevtabhyo Namah Swaha, Om Kshetrapalaya Namah Swaha, Om Sarvebhyo Devebhyo Namah Swaha, Om Agnaye Swastikruti Namah Swaha.
ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देव महेश्वर गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः।
On November 19th, 1966, a young gentleman arrived in Trinidad to join the staff of the Indian High Commission here in the capacity as Hindi officer. He had a BA and MA Sahitya Lankar, was impeccably trained in music, vocal music and tabla. He was the head of Department of Music at Kashmir University in Srinagar and possessed a winning, charismatic, dynamic personality. His name was Shri Hari Shankar Adesh. Within the month of his arrival, he set about with missionary zeal to teach Hindi and music. One of his first students was the late eminent local vocalist Isaac Yankaran. And as Trinidad's thirst for knowledge grew and the demands of the community became more apparent, he introduced more subject areas in his program of instruction and training. And today, 5.5 decades later, no conference, no seminar or gathering on Indian education, languages, religion, or the performing arts is complete without discussions on the role of Professor Adesh, or Guruji, as he was affectionately called. Hari Shankar Adesh, also referred to as Sant, Pandit, Mahakavi, Kulguru, and the quiet role played by his other half, Dr. Nirmala Adesh, in his overall contribution has been phenomenal. He taught, wrote, lectured, philosophized, and guided all those who came into contact with him, and many came. In short, he took charge of the holistic development of his disciples. In Trinidad, through the Bharatiya Vidya Sansthan, which he founded, he introduced and taught the languages of Hindi, Urdu, and Sanskrit in a systematic academic way. He introduced instruments
such as the Santur, Jaltarang, Sarod, and Pakhawaj, teaching these as well as the sarangi, sitar, flute, mandolin, tabla, and harmonium. These are instruments that had been brought earlier by Indian immigrants, all from the academic perspective of theory and practice. Srimati Nirmala Adesh introduced and taught the Indian classical dance form of Kathak to enthusiastic students. And in addition to the above subject areas, Professor Adesh added a literary side to the institution. He created the magazine Jyoti. This was prepared, published, and printed by the Bharatiya Vidya Sansthan, and it contained, among other things, the curriculum, rags that were being taught, language lessons, plus articles on music, art, religion, and philosophy. Guruji introduced the annual residential camp where students and persons interested in Indian knowledge lived as one family for 1 week. It was the first time in independent Trinidad and Tobago that an all-embracing Gurukul had been established, yet within a rather less formal ashram discipline, conforming more to an Indian socio-cultural value system within the Caribbean setting. From 1971, he was also instrumental in sending students to India to study. In the literary field, Professor Adesh wrote over 300 books, including several short stories, 22 one-act plays and full-length dramas, musical texts and songbooks, and composed songs for each festival and major occasion. He also composed Urdu shairi, translated the Bhagavad Gita into Hindi poetry, and edited several publications including Jyoti and Jeevan Jyoti magazines. The national anthem of Trinidad and Tobago is now sung in Hindi thanks to his translation. By 2020, the original Bharatiya Vidya Sansthan, established in Trinidad and Tobago, grew to be Bharatiya Vidya Sansthan International. Professor Adesh, with his students and supporters, had established additional centers in USA and Canada, while the Trinidad centers continue to exist. He produced scores of audio cassettes and several long-playing records, composed over 1,000 classical compositions and over 200 manuscripts of work. At his passing in December last, Professor Adesh had added to his body of knowledge writings on 4 new topics. Professor Adesh's work is now the subject of literary analysis and studies in many centers of higher learning. His work has spanned Guyana, Suriname, USA, Canada, UK, and Holland, and traveled back to India. His literary works and compositions are studied and sung at several Indian universities. He was honored internationally in his motherland by 4 presidents and also received Trinidad and Tobago's National Award, the Hummingbird Medal Gold, for his contribution to culture. Professor Adesh was possibly the most distinguished pioneer in the renaissance of Indian languages and arts in Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean. He positively influenced the aesthetics of the country, providing the nation, more so the Indo-Trinidadian community, with self-confidence, self-esteem, and the instruments for redefining themselves as a people of self-worth, capable of finding their place and living in unity and harmony in this diversity that is Trinidad and Tobago. His work continues to contribute to the holistic development of Trinidad and Tobago and the global village. And it is with this introduction we will now listen to the very first Vandana, Saraswati Vandana. This was a staple at every class, at every function, invoking Saraswati Ma's blessings, composed by my Guruji and many of ours, Saraswati Vandana. Guruji brought the teaching of rags, and we began to understand the music that we were hearing in films in a more structured, in a more educated way. One very popular rag was Yaman, and there are many film songs composed in this. Now, it's traditionally performed during the early evening, and it conveys a mood that is serene and calm and peaceful, but yet joyful and lively. So it's the feeling you get if you're looking at something very beautiful, a place that's very beautiful, or when you're enjoying time with your family.
Ma
This is a rag of deep devotion. Ladies and gentlemen, Rag Jogya.
Taal Tivara. Dit bols of a taal. Da, din, ta, titte, katta, gadi, gana, da, din, ta, titte, katta, gadi, gana, da, din, ta, titte, katta, gadi, gana, ditta, ketta, taka, tage, titta, ditta, ketta, taka, tage, titta, duma, ketta, taka, ketta, da, gadi, gana, dage, din, dilanga, ditta, titta, ketta, gadi, gana, dage, titta, katta, titta, gana, dake, titta, dana, da, katta, titta, gana, dake, titta, dana, da, katta, titta, gana, dake, titta, dana, ditta, ketta, taka, tage, titta, duma, ketta, taka, ketta, da, gadi, dage, din, dilanga, ditta, titta, ketta, gadi, gana, dage, titta, katta, titta, gana, dake, titta, dana, da, katta, titta, gana, dake, titta, dana, da, katta, titta, gana, dake, titta, dana, da.
this is a dance in celebration of the harvest. They have planted, they have reaped, and the harvest was a good one, so now it's time to celebrate. This dance, choreographed by Srimati Kavita Bhatia. Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy.
न जाओ जी मन बीत कराओ जी अरे क्यों तरसावे हो मन सकल दिखाओ जी थारी शरारत सब जानू मैं तो धरी अरसले मन बंगा दी मैं कह लगे मर बिगड़ में जागी दो कणी रे चंदा में थारी चांदनी मन दामन में बाधी खुशी रे झुम 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 ओ मर बिगड़ में जागी दो कणी रे चंदा में थारी चांदनी मन दामन में बाधी खुशी रे झुम 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 झुम
Namaste, everyone. Receiving certificate the year 2018, Elementary 1, Dance, Anelia Rani Singh. Anushka Mohan, Elementary 1, the year 2020, Dance and Vocals. Anjani Sukhdev, 2018, Elementary 1, Dance. Indrani Hiralal Singh, 2018, Elementary 1 Dance. Unfortunately, these persons are not here with us. Anila Baiju, 2020, Elementary 1, Dance, Vocal, and Percussion, attaining distinction in all three disciplines. Next, we have Jasmine Carr, the year 2020, Elementary 1, Dance, Distinction, Vocals, Pass. Janelle Pandit, 2020, Year 3, Intermediate, Dance, Distinction. Julian Pereira, 2018, Year 1, Elementary Dance, Distinction. Leander Bidesi, 2018, Year 1, Year 2, Elementary, 2019, Dance, Distinction. Nishta Maraj, who is unfortunately not with us today, she attained Year 1, 2020, Vocals, Distinction. Pramisha Maraj, 2020, Vocals and Dance, Year 1 Elementary, Distinction. Next we have Priya Maharaj, 2018, Year 1 Elementary, 2019, Year 2 Elementary, Dance, Distinction. Reshma Sitahal,
few.
Thank you very
And
much.
then we'll ask
Thank you very much. We now invite Brahmacharya
Bhagati
Ji.
to come back and say a few words. Right? After. Yeah. Lovely.
Now I have Reshma Sitahal, 2018, Year 1, 2019, Year 2 Elementary, 2020, Year 3 Intermediate, in dance and in distinction in all disciplines. Ruchi Miraj, 2020 Year 1 Elementary Percussion Distinction. Ranjana Rambachan, Elementary Year 1 2020 Vocals and Dance, earning distinction in both disciplines. Shriya Maraj, Year 1 2020 Elementary Dance Distinction, Vocals Pass. Vital Parasram, 2019 Year 1 Elementary Percussion. Sidain Rupnarayan, 2019 Year 2 Elementary Dance Distinction. Thank you all.
I am usurping the role of the MC here by asking Bhagat Sahab to address us, bring greetings from the Indian High Commission as Director of the Mahatma Gandhi Institute for Cultural Cooperation of the Indian High Commission.
Thank you. Good morning. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Robert Dhamacharya of Sanatan Dharma Mahasabha, Dr. Pandit Parsuram ji, Dr. Pandit Sanjeev Parsuram, Mr. Deepak Manohar, Chairman of Kathak Kala Sangam, Mr. Anthony Manbat, Dr. Satnarine Balkaransingh ji, Master of Ceremony, committee members, faculty members, artists, performers, students of Kathak Kala Sangam, all the other distinguished guests and everyone present here, a very welcome and warm greetings to you all. And we have our young artists from MGICC. We have Hindi teacher Kavita Bhatia ji. Good to see you here. First of all, thank you for inviting the High Commission of India. It is my great pleasure and privilege to be present here today and making me part of 6th Annual Saraswati Jayanti celebrations. On behalf of the High Commissioner of India, Mr. Arun Kumar Sahu, who could not attend this event due to his prior commitments, I convey my heartfelt greetings and congratulations to management of Kathak Kala Sangam for organizing today the 6th Annual Saraswati Jayanti celebrations event. It is important to keep alive the values, traditions, culture, festivals, our faith, the identity of our gods and goddesses. And I think there is no other better example to demonstrate our traditions than what you are doing. I must say that we must commend the efforts of management of Kathak Kala Sangam for celebrating Saraswati Jayanti. I also pay my tributes to Gurudev Hari Shankar Adesh ji. It is not easy to organize an event, and Kathak Kala Sangam, you deserve appreciation for doing this. Wishing you all a happy Saraswati Jayanti. Thank you.
Deepak ji will be accompanied by Shri Rohan Ramdev. He is also Sangeet Kalanidhi from Bharatiya Vidya Sansthan. He plays harmonium and tabla. He is a UTT graduate, did his Bachelor of Education, and Sangeet Prathama. He is a music tutor all over Trinidad and Tobago. It's hard to pin him down to one area. So, Rohan Ramdev. There is Ruchi one of the students of Deepak ji. He is a student of KKS. He's a third-year tabla player. He is also a volleyball athlete with the national team for Trinidad and Tobago, and he has played in Jamaica on behalf of Trinidad and Tobago. Arya, a first-year student, and you've already seen her perform. And that's the complete ensemble. So I will take your leave and leave you to enjoy Tabla Tarang.
In this item, we'll be using a 16-beat time cycle for both tabla and pakawaj. For those of you who play tabla, you would know that the 16-beat cycle on tabla is called teen tal. And for those of you who play pakawaj, the 16-beat time cycle is called adi tal. The bowls are slightly different, and that is the purpose of this demonstration. So we will begin. Dha, din, din, dha, dha, din, din, dha, dha, din, din, ta, ta, din, din, dha, dha, dit, ti, ta, da, dit, ti, ta, ga, dit, ti, ta, dit, kata, ga, di, ga, na. din din da da tun tun na dit dit da din da din da ka dit dit da din da ka dit da din da da din da ka dit dit da tun da ka dit dit da tun da ka dit dit da tun da tun tun na dit dit da din da ka dit dit da din da ka dit da din da ka dit da din da ka dit dit da tun da ka dit dit da tun da ka dit dit da tun da tun na dit dit da din da ka dit da ka dit dit da din da ka dit da din da ka dit da din da ka dit dit da tun da ka dit dit da tun da ka dit dit da tun da.
I now take the pleasure of inviting His Holiness the Dharmacharya of the Sanatan Dharma Mahasabha of Trinidad and Tobago Incorporated, Dr. Pandit Ramprasad Parasram, to the microphone to bring some greetings.
जय सीताराम. हाथ जोड़कर भगवान के ध्यान करना. Would you please meditate upon God? Clasp your hands and bow your heads. Let us pray together. हरि ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः. श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः. श्री गुरु चरण कमलभ्य नमः. हरि ओम. शुक्लां ब्रह्म विचार सार परमाद्यां जगत व्यापिनी वीणा पुस्तक धारणीम भयदां जाढ्याण्ढकारापहं हस्ते स्फाटिकमालिकां विदिततिं पद्मासने संस्थितां वन्दे तां परमेश्वरी भगवती बुद्धिप्रदा शारदा. ओम शांति शांति शांति. हरि ओम. God bless you all. Of course, some of you will recognize in our tradition, I paid my respects to Sri Ganesh Bhagavan, remover of impediments. We sincerely believe that whatever obstacles stand in our way as we undertake things in life can be removed by Ganesh Bhagavan. I also paid respects to Mata Saraswati, and I will come back to a few things about Mata Saraswati in a short while from now. And of course, to Guru. It's very, very important that we remember our Gurus, because whatever we are in part due to the blessings and the guidance of Gurus. So it is part of our tradition to also pay our respects to our Gurus. Then, of course, I invited you to chant with me Shuklam Brahma Vicharasar Paramam Adyam Jagat Vyapini. As many of you would recognize, this is a prayer to Mata Saraswati. Mata Saraswati to us is the goddess of wisdom, of learning, of music, of art. And of course, she is also referred to as the mother of the universe. And there is a legend that we have been taught about Mata Saraswati, that when the Supreme Being decided to create the universe, his creating potency was manifest as Brahmaji. And he, having manifested as Brahmaji, the creator, he recognized that he could not create without something else. And from his desire was then born Mata Saraswati, who is also called Brahmini, of course. And when she came into being, we are taught that she started to play her divine instrument, the veena, with which she is associated. And her music quickly filled the universe. And all of nature that was asleep came to life and creation started. There are many stories pertaining to the creation of the world in Sanatan Dharma in Hinduism, but this is a very attractive story for those people who pursue the arts. The filling of the universe with the divine music of Mata Saraswati. So there is that, but I wouldn't go into much more details about her, except to say this. What does she mean for students? Yes, what does she mean for students? For me, when I started my learning very early as a child, I was taught that I should worship her and seek her blessings. So the very first thing that a student must remember, that when we worship the mother, we worship to get her blessings and guidance as we begin or commence our studies, or we renew a pledge to continue our studies. We always remember to worship Mata and seek her blessings. So in the early days, in my childhood, that's why I worship Mata Saraswati. When I went to India, and I was doing my pre-medical, I would often go to the mandir, and the pujari would say to me, read the Chalisa, the Saraswati Chalisa, 40 hymns in praise of Mata Saraswati in front of the murti of Mata Saraswati before doing any exam or before starting any new courses. So that idea that we worship for her blessings and we worship for her guidance continued to remain with me even as I became an adult. That remained with me. It still is with me, actually. And that's why before I do pravachan, whenever I speak at a public function, I first meditate upon Sri Ganesh and Mata Saraswati, and then Guru, as I invited you to do with me, even before beginning today's very brief address. So that's what she meant. But then, as I read more and my consciousness expanded, as I developed and I moved towards growth, there are certain other things that came into my mind. That Saraswati Mata, as she is represented in art, in drawings, paintings, in murtis, in carvings, as she is represented, is also someone that the student can learn a whole lot from as to what he or she needs to do in order to progress in life, in order to be the best in his or her field. And I started to reflect on the form of Mata Saraswati. Of course, I've spoken about her divine music which fills the universe. But some of you may recall that she carries a bead in her hand. Karamala, Mata ke haath mein mala hoti hai. And really, it has a message for us about the need for us to be focused and to be able to concentrate properly. It is a power of concentration, which I came to understand was a very important part of being a student, that the power to concentrate, to be focused at all times. Of course, there is the swan. And in Hindi, in Hindu poetry, in Indian poetry, the swan holds a very important place. But there is something about the swan that has been talked about by our poets, and that is that the swan has the power to differentiate between milk and water. If you put a mixture of milk and water in front of a swan, the swan is able to separate the two. Now, whether that is so or not, I don't know. But it certainly is part of our literature, and it is part of our folk belief. So when I look at Mata and I look at her swan, which is her vahan, or the vehicle associated with the deity, I also come to understand and believe that a good student also has to understand the difference between reality and non-reality. Before we can come to excellence and before we can come to that higher knowledge and understanding, we have to develop the quality of being able to differentiate between two, which is, of course, the power of viveka. So when I look at Mata, I look at a serene and beautiful goddess, one who has the power of concentration and one who has for Vahan that animal that is able to point us in the direction of an understanding of reality versus non-reality, and which pushes us towards a higher understanding of the truth. That's what she means to me now. But still, the idea of praying to her for blessings remain. For there is also in her hand, as many of you would observe, a pot of water. Kaushambha Sharike Devi. And she sprinkles the water as she walks. This represents her blessings to all of us who are students of anything, students of pursuing academics, students of art, of music, whatever. That is what it represents. And I am very privileged to continue to pray to her and to continue to pray for her blessings and to receive her blessings. I thought I'd say that first and then do the second thing, because I wanted to dedicate the first part of what I had to say to the mother of the universe, Mata Saraswati. The second part of what I have to say is I want to recognize Shri M.C. Bhagat, the second secretary of the High Commission of India and acting director of the Mahatma Gandhi Institute for Cultural Cooperation. I want to recognize the tutors in persons of Shri Arshad Khan, Tabla Maestro, and Shri Paritosh Sinha ji. I also want to recognize, but I don't know all the people that I'm looking at, all with the masks and so on, and I want to recognize a whole lot of other people who are present. Rajesh Sinha, who is himself a brilliant performer and a teacher of dance. Yes? And look, if I cannot recognize all the other people that I'm supposed to recognize, I do recognize all of you. I do recognize all of you. And I also want to recognize Miss Bipat, Miss Rukmini Bibat, who is herself a Sangeeta Acharya, a teacher of music. And I really want to congratulate her for all the good work that she's doing over the years. And I want to recognize, of course, my brother, older brother who is present, and his son Sanjeev, who performed the puja, and their family. Yes, I want to recognize them, and I want to recognize the daughter of my guru, the late Dharmacharya, Pandit Janki Prasad Sharma, who is a performer in her own right, and whose son you have seen on stage, Mr. Anil Maharaj. I want to recognize her presence. And there's one last thing I want to do, and that is to pay my personal tribute to Professor H.S. Adesh. Shardaji spoke about him, and students performed, I think it was in Rag Yaman that they were performing. So I want to pay my personal tribute to him. He has contributed significantly to the development of the arts. And if I said last, I did not tell the whole truth, because last but not least, I would like to pay my tribute to the Kathak Sangam. I would like to thank them for the invitation to be present. I'd like to personally thank the artistic director for all he has done for the arts in Trinidad and Tobago. Sat, you've been doing a tremendous job, and ladies and gentlemen, I do invite you to give him a rousing round of applause. And of course, I would like to congratulate the students and the parents and guardians of the students who encourage them, and the tutors of the Kathak Kala Sangam. Once again, like it has been every year, it's my privilege to be part of this, and thank you all very much for being patient and kind and generous towards me. God bless you all. Jai Sitara.
Namaste. I deem it a great privilege to have been asked to deliver this vote of thanks on behalf of the Kathak Kala Sangam. Let me first start by thanking Mother Saraswati for making today's event possible. We have had to make many changes in order to adhere to the COVID-19 protocols, and we were still able to have a successful event. We thank His Holiness, the Dharmacharya of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Pandit Rampasad Parisram, for gracing our event. We would also like to express our gratitude to Mr. M.C. Bhagat, Second Secretary of the Indian High Commission, former MP, Mr. Prakash Ramada, Chief Mr. Ricardo Bharat Hernandez of the Arima First People, Guru Rajesh Sinath, and Guru Alana Raja of the Adavalan Academy, and Mrs. Rukmini Bipat. I wish to also thank the artists of MGICC who are here today, Mr. Arshad Khan and Mr. Paritosh Sinha. The planning and execution of today's event would not have been possible without the hard work and contributions of many. We wish to thank our MC today, Mrs. Sharada Maharaj, our musicians, and Mr. Anil Maharaj and Mr. Rohan Ramdev, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, Superintendent Subhash Ramkilawan and family, Shivan Sinath for our PA system and recording today as well, Neelam Rajkumar and family, Navin Matai for decorations, Kishwar Maharaj of Maharaj Air Conditioning Limited, Anand Pasad of Anand Investments Limited, Chanka Sitaram of the Hindi Nidhi Foundation,
Kavita Prem Singh of Prem Singh's Puja Bhavan, Pandit Manidev Prasad and IETV, Ms. Ranu Maharaj, Dr. Indrani Hiralal Singh, Vashti Maharaj and family, Mitra Pare, Ranjana Rambachan and family, Anthony Manbud, Deepak Manohar, Geeta Ramhit and family, and our artistic director and teachers of the Kathak Sangam for their constant guidance. If I have left out anyone out of my list, thank you from the bottom of my heart. We look forward to collaborating with you in the future. Thank you all for attending and do have a safe journey home. I just have one short announcement. We have this book which is written by our artistic director, Dr. Satnarine Balkaransingh. It's entitled The Shaping of a Culture, Rituals and Festivals in Trinidad, compared with selected counterparts in India. We have this book on sale, so you can check me after for those who are interested. Have a good day.
Thank you, Leander. Thank you, Dharmacharya ji. We have come to the last item, but I want to introduce these artists to you in a more personal way, so that when they perform, you will appreciate them as fuller human beings and not just as dancers on a stage. We will be doing Kathak Nritya, which is pure dance. Reshma Sitahal, who is a senior student of the Kathak Sangam, is also a practicing attorney at law in the offices of Mrs. Lynette Sibaran's suite, and she was a former tabla student at the MGICC. Her teacher was Dr. Vijay Siddha. But Reshma loves dogs, masala chai, chana masala. Zidan Ruknarain. He is doing his final year in the Bachelor of Fine Arts, and it's in dance. So he's specializing in contemporary dance, ballet, and Kathak. And he also loves masala chai, pizza, ice cream, and swimming. Perhaps that's how he maintains his fine form as well. Pooja Pandit, BSc in Computer Science Information Technology. She's a teacher at St. Francois Girls College. She's a senior student at Kathakala Sangam. Pizza seems to be a staple, but she loves pav bhaji and ice cream and reading. So, ladies and gentlemen, what these individuals are going to show you is the training that they have received from their guru, Sri Satnarine Balkaransingh, and they'll be doing for you pure dance, Uthan, Ahmad, Paran, Tukra, Tihai, Gat. They will end with a Jugal Bandi and Tatkar. The accompanists you are familiar with already, so please enjoy this last presentation.
This morning, what we're doing, for those of you who don't know Kathak in this form, we're rapping. That's what we're really doing. Just as the rappers are going to come out and say what they want to say, this is what our dancers are going to do. They are going to rap with you. But we don't call it rap. We call it parhant. So they are speaking parhant. And they would speak in rhythm. Kathak classical dance is really movement in rhythm and time and space. And this is what you're going to see. You're going to see it spontaneous here, how it is normally done. We are doing this for you so that you can understand there are other aspects of what you see in Trinidad as compared to what you're going to see here. Dhatur kitta dha, dhatur kitta dha, dhatur kitta dha, din din da, din din da, gut. These are just dance sequences. Dhatur kitta tu nakata, 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 din din da, din din da. Ding da ding, ding da da 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 ding da
tu na katte natar ke tatu katte natar ke tatu na katte natar ke tatu na katte natar do ek do ek do ek do ek do ek do king tada king king tada king tada king ta king tada king tada king ta king tada king tada king tada
din da da din da da.
Kritak tuntuna teta dhadinda kritadinda kattita dhadinta kattita dhadinta 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 kridhit dhadinta kattita 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 tuntara kattita 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 tuntara kattita 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 tuntara.
Hey, 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 we're doing a jugal bandi. That is a friendly contest between the dancers, bells, the khungrus, and the instruments, the drums. Let's go.
लुक छुप ना जाओ जी, मन दीद कराओ जी, अरे क्यों तरसावे हो, मन शकल दिखाओ जी। थारी शरारत सब जानू मैं चौधरी,